What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mick Crafts, and today I decided that after reaching 500 subscribers I wanted to redo the build that got me started on this whole crafting journey. I had bought this awesome miniature for my D&D game, and after painting him I decided he needed something more than just sitting on my shelf. So I built a massive foam and plaster temple for him as a stand. Now, with a bit more experience under my belt, I decided to try something a little cleaner and less bulky. So, I decided to try and make a lava landscape in this little shadow box. I started by scoring and cutting pieces of safety glass to build a dam for the resin pour. And after a number of failed water tests, I finally got the seals to hold, and it was time to mix up the resin. I use a 2-to-1 ratio mix, and then added some orange and red pigments to give it that nice lava color. And then I added just a touch of white to give it some opacity and, diffuse the light a little bit better. Once the pour was done, I quickly realized my table was not level, so I moved the pour to a shelf that would keep it level while it cures. Next, it was time to start running the lights. I decided to install the switch first, so I drilled a few pilot holes before carving out my opening with a rotary tool. Once the switch was nice and snug, I installed the battery housing on the inside and then used some wide popsicle sticks to provide a housing for the LEDs. Luckily, these lights come with built-in resistors, which means a lot less soldering and fewer wires floating around. Once I had the LEDs secured to the housing, I stripped the wires back and connected them by hand to test the connection and make sure all the lights were working. Once everything was secured and tested, I soldered them together and secured them within the frame. I then removed the metal brackets that were meant to hold the backing for the shadow box so that it didn't impede our resin insert. For the lava rocks, I used a trick that I picked up from Boy Lie Hobby Time, using cork sheets sprayed with black spray paint to look like lava rock. I did 2 layers of the cork board to make sure that they were thick enough to hold the miniature's pegs, and then I tore them into random shapes for the lava rock. I then gave the cork bits a spray of black spray paint off camera. After a couple of days, our resin was fully cured, so it was time to remove the dam and start cleanup. I trimmed off the sharp excesses with a hobby knife and then sanded the edges down by hand until everything was nice and smooth. I then gave the whole thing a quick hand polish before placing it in the frame, giving the whole thing a quick test. With the resin insert in place, I placed out my cork boards to make sure I had proper spacing to sit the miniature before securing the pieces with super glue. I usually go with hot glue for these kinds of applications, but I wanted to avoid any unnecessary bumps or the spider webbing strands of glue that would come from hot glue, so regular super glue fit the bill. For our final pieces, I used a hobby knife to cut out the insert holes for the mini's feet, and then secured the final lava pieces in place with the miniature. After a quick test, I realized the glow wasn't as bright as I had originally intended, though it still did look cool. However, I may end up inserting more lights in it later on to increase the glowing effect. I then used some sculpting foam to fill in the spaces around the switch and gave the whole thing a touch of velvet black, and then, time for those glamour shots. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future builds. We managed to surpass 500 subscribers from the last video, which is really awesome, and I can't thank you all enough. I have some really cool ideas for the next few videos coming out, so I hope you enjoyed them. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video, Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.